This week in NintenDomain, Merry Christmas. It's our Christmas bonus episode for the week of Christmas. We're going to do our top 5 favorite Christmas games.
And we're going to roll around the snow a little bit.
And we're going to have fun.
Snow is always fun.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas.
Welcome to NintenDomain episode bonus, Christmas bonus. We have no number for this one. Or we could call it 102. Whatever. One or the other. Anyway, we're your hosts.
0.5.
Yeah.
99.5.
This is actually 101.5.
101.5. Oh, 101.5. Yes. Okay.
Because we are in the time that we're in right now. We're not going to tell you what time we're at. Anyway, I'm your host, Trey Days of Christmas Johnson. I think that's what it's called, or Christmas Days. There's some weird-ass Super Nintendo game that I put on my winter episode. DAZE of Christmas.
I'm Jereme Snowglobe Mikowski.
And I'm John. What's that level from Mario Kart 64? The winter level?
Frappe Snowland?
Frappe Snowland. That's me. I'm John Frappe Knitter.
There's a couple of them. Yeah, there's Frappe Snowland. There's 2 at least. There's that one and the other one. Anyway, yeah, we're here to give our drunken Christmas bonus episode for you here. We're going to do our top 5 favorite Christmas/winter games.
We've had a lot of eggnog.
Yeah, we've had a lot of eggnog with rum and whiskey and whatever else in there. So, who wants to start? Who wants to start for number 5 on this? We'll jump right into it. We're not going to do the news because it's Christmas and fuck the news. That's what I say.
There's no news. The only news I know is that dude with the big reindeer things came in my chimney.
That sounds like so gross. It's like the dude with the big reindeer. He came in my chimney. I was like, oh, okay. Right.
Well, let's leave it at that.
And happy Hanukkah as well for our Jewish listeners and all that. I think
happy whatever you celebrate.
I think Hanukkah's way better than Christmas. They got 8 days. That's 8 days of gifts. That's awesome. Versus 1 day of gifts. That's all I'm saying. It's way cooler. And I like the candle thing they got going on. It's pretty rad.
And the food isn't just Thanksgiving part 2. It's
probably good food. It's not just more turkey.
Yeah.
Well, ham's a good thing to have for Christmas. But, Christmas has already happened. We're after Christmas here. But regardless, let's talk about games that you got for Christmas or games that remind you of Christmas or games that remind you of snow or whatever. I'll do I'll do number 5. I'll do the first one. Sure. My number 5, one of my easy go-tos for Christmas winter games. SSX Blur for the Nintendo Wii. It's, if you listen to the WRT radio last year for winter games, that song's on there. But, first SSX game I ever played was on the Wii, and I thought it was pretty rad. You could do moves by making motions with your hand. You can make a heart and you do a move for that, whatever. But it has a kick-ass soundtrack. It's all on the snow. It's all wintry. And I even played it last year. Broke out the Wii to play it again. And it's a fun winter game. I'm sure I'll stream it at some point this year once it gets more wintry, in January or something. But that's my number 5. What do you guys got for number 5?
Number 5, I'm going to do my personal Christmas games that I got for Christmas. So not necessarily winter related.
That's sure. That's fine.
Mine is Eternal Champions. That's number 5.
Oh, wow. I have that game.
Yeah. I got that for Christmas, and I want to say 5th grade. The reason that's number 5 for me is because not only did I get Eternal Champions, I got the Activator, the Sega Activator. Which,
oh, God. Yeah.
To me, that just blew my mind. That was the first step into VR back in the day for me. I thought at the time, for those who don't know what the Activator was, it was this big ring that you stand in, and
you put your hands over
commercial it? Anyway, any movement that you make exactly is going to be translated into the game. And so I took that to mean as, 5th grader, I thought if I pick my nose and the game, Sonic would pick his nose or something like that. Anything that I do, they do in the game.
I thought it was 1-to-1, right?
I thought it was 1-to-1, but it was not that way. What it actually turned out to be was when you wave your hand over the the ring at a particular point, that registers as the A button or the C button or whatever.
It's
So
like yeah.
You could do a kick. You could do a lower move, like if you waved your foot over it or something, that would be a different move. So that was about all the complexity. And the game that came with it was Eternal Champions, which I very quickly, after about like 2 weeks, stopped really using the activator and just started playing Eternal Champions with the Genesis controller. And it was a cool game. I liked it.
Well, I'm sure it's pretty hard to like throw a Hadoken or the equivalent of Hadoken by like moving your hands across the whatever, right? Because
Right.
can you move like the control pad in some way, like by moving your hands across that activator or whatever? Or is
Yeah,
it
like
just
it was hard to navigate the menus and everything, and you'd select the wrong mode by accident. So
Yeah.
usually I would just set up the game with the controller and then switch it to the activator and then start playing that game. Or sometimes if I was like feeling adventurous, I would select the 2-player game and then I would have the activator, but I'd also be using the controller. I'd be fighting myself.
Yeah.
I did that a couple times. Yeah.
Well, sure. Yeah, you can like play the controller and then like kick your feet over or whatever, make it work.
Right.
It sounds like the precursor to like the Wii, pretty much, where like some motion control things were like, oh, shake it, but that could be a button, where this one's like, put your hand over a thing to basically do the button. So it's like,
Right.
this could be easily done on a controller. It kind of reminds me of that motion
It's kind of
control
like
stuff.
a middle man between the power pad and the Wii. Like it was a thing you put on the floor, but then it required you to use your hands and feet to do motions.
Yeah.
And all of it was crap.
So it was like firing like infrared beams, and you were like interrupting them by crossing them or something like that.
Right.
Oh,
Exactly.
probably, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like Y, or no, wait, they don't have Y. It's like A, B, C, like whatever you put in front of it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Eternal Champions is still pretty good, though, right? I mean, I have that game. I bought it for $4, $5, I think, when I was in Champaign.
You got a deal.
last.
It's a solid fighting game. I like it.
Yeah, I haven't played much of it, even though it is in the WART radio fighting episode. There is an Eternal Champion song in there.
Remember
So-
hearing that.
I always represent the Sega songs. But yeah, I have it, but I haven't played a whole lot of it. But it was one that I was like, I should get this. Because I was
Give
kind
it
of
a shot. It's fun.
Well, I always kind of wanted it when I was in high school. I remember seeing advertisements for it in comic books when I was reading them, and I was like, oh, that looks cool. So, but I haven't played it a whole lot. But it does look cool. I have to try it out for sure, definitely after this. What's your number 5, Jeremy?
Number 5, I kind of went off the beaten path for this a little bit because we've done this before. I'm going to think of a game that I played on Christmas. I played Phantom Hourglass, as I recall. I bought that game
Oh,
shortly before I was hanging out with my family for Christmas. And maybe I was towards the end of the game. I can't remember. In fact, I remember beating the game while I was at my family's house on Christmas Day. So that was a great game. That was a total surprise that they were able to make an entirely touchscreen Zelda game. And
Yeah.
it worked. I'm surprised they haven't ported either of those to mobile. I mean, maybe they have to work around the second screen, but they did a really good job with like capturing all that Zelda gameplay with just touching the touchscreen exclusively.
well, that might take away from the Wii U sales of the DS Virtual Console, right? Because you can,
Right, I
get, you
guess
can get
so.
it for Wii U. I don't feel like Nintendo would be one to do that. Like they would never re-release something that they have for their other systems as a mobile game.
No, it doesn't seem that way. It seems like they want it to be unique.
Well, they want
things that are developed with that technology in mind.
Well, they want you to play it the way that they wanted you to play it originally, They don't want it to be, even though I guess like playing it on the Wii U would be different, but still it has like a stylus and all that. So actually I always liked playing some of those DS games on the Wii U like vertical, where I'd like just hold the system and just do the bottom part, where you have like the two screens. If it was like a stylus only game, like it worked really well like that.
That game does work really well holding the Wii U vertically.
Yeah, no, that's a cool game. And I'm sure there's some sort of snow level in there somewhere, if you're thinking winter stuff as well.
Right. But yeah, I was happy to have something to do during Christmas when everyone else was doing their own thing.
For sure. Yeah, it's always good to... Well, back then on the DS, it might have been kind of weird to have a DS and playing it while people are talking to you. Whereas like nowadays, which I think is one thing that's great about living in the information age and all that, is that everybody has their fucking phone out. So like... If you, like when I was at my mom's house, I'd be like, I'd be like holding the Wii U gamepad, like playing it, and like nobody would say anything because like everybody has their phones out, and I'm like, nobody's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, just sitting here playing this, But nobody would say that. I'd just be playing it, and nobody said anything because they're used to people having screens in front of their faces, So it's kind of nice.
Can't really, like, be criticized. Hey, like, put your game away,
And be like, well, put your phone away.
Everybody else is doing the same thing.
I was saying it was nice for me because now I could just I could bring the DS out or I could bring the Wii U out and nobody would say anything, because everybody's always on their phone. And like, I don't think my mom even knew what it was. Like, she probably thought it was an iPad or something that I was playing with, and I'm just like playing Smash Brothers over here. I'm like, oh yeah, for sure. That's crazy. My sister said that or whatever, I was like having a conversation about playing Smash Brothers Wii U, like just right there.
You got like a 1-year-old like rolling around on the floor with an iPad, like.
Yeah.
Everybody uses this game, like, it has a screen in front of their face now.
No, they do. So you can like totally.
But we were doing it first.
No, of course we were, but it was weird. Like if I had my Game Boy, they'd be like, "Why are you playing Game Boy? Be with the family." But now like everybody's doing that, so I'm like, that's kind of cool.
Like,
where I can just be like, "Oh, here, I got my Switch."
In front of my face.
But now
I can't judge you for it anymore.
Yeah, nobody thinks it's weird because they think it's something else, And I've been able to do that in a lot of family gatherings where I'm just like, I'm playing my Nintendo system. They're like, what kind of phone is that? I'm like, that's not a phone. It's a video game system. Remember those? But whatever. It gives me an excuse to at least like, play games and just be in my own world for a minute. Where it's like, oh yeah, you guys talk about family members. I'm just going to like shoot some demons on Doom over here. Leave me alone.
Just don't spill gravy on your Switch.
Well, yeah, don't do that. Anyway, number 4. We at number 4?
Number 4.
So maybe I should go to, let's switch to one that reminds me of winter and one I got for Christmas. You guys both do Christmas ones. My other go-to that I always go to for my top 5 winter games is, Diddy Kong Racing, because I got that for Christmas when it came out. And, there are some winter levels in there, but I always think of that for Christmas, rolling around, yeah, I mean, I like the boss battles, WizPig is still an asshole, but, whatever. But, it was a fun game. I played a lot of it. Like, it was whatever year that came out. I want to say, like.
98?
No, I thought it was pre-98, right? It had to have been like 97 or 96. It might have been 97, but anyway, I got it for Christmas.
Mario Kart was 97. I think.
No, Mario Kart was 96. Mario Kart came out in the first year of the system. I remember that.
I think Mario Kart was...
No, well, either that or it was the very beginning of 97.
Beginning of 97.
Mario Kart was 97, and I think Diddy Kong was 98, or it was later on in 97.
Well, Diddy Kong was post Mario Kart, I know that for sure.
Right.
But I want to say that it's Christmas 97 for Diddy Kong Racing.
Well, because Diddy Kong Racing used actual, like, polygons for your character. In Mario Kart 64, you were still a sprite.
That's true. Yeah, it had better graphical capability. And I was right. In November 97, November 24th, 1997, we missed the 20th anniversary of Diddy Kong Racing on our show, unfortunately.
No.
But, that's because we did a better game. We did maybe it's not, but it is a great game, though. We did a WCW vs. NWO World Tour, which came out around the same time of Diddy Kong Racing, but I really like WCW. I know Jeremy doesn't, but I do.
It's okay. I mean, it's a thing.
But maybe I got both.
It's a thing that I just never, I played the wrestling games. I only really ever played them if I was with my friends when they were playing them. I never played them on my own.
Sure. But anyway, that, apparently I remember that one more as a Christmas game than I do WCW. Probably because I kept playing WCW like way longer than I did Diddy Kong Racing. No offense, Diddy Kong Racing, but the WCW versus NWO did stick with me as long as it took to get to Revenge and 2000 and No Mercy and so on and so forth after that. But yeah, regardless, I still, when I think of wintertime and Christmas, I think of Diddy Kong Racing. And it was cool. Banjo-Kazooie's in there. There's like a Conquer, pre-Crazy Conquer, he's in there. Also, like before they got to like the actual Conquer Bad Fur Day Conquer. There's like when he's like a clean game before it like became a story about how he got drunk and getting home.
In some ways, it did sort of like show what was going to happen with Mario Kart, because like wasn't there a thing where you could like if you did something right before a boost, you got a turbo boost, like if you jump right before you hit it, which ended up being a Mario Kart thing eventually.
Yeah, I think
something like that.
I think if you hit a button or something at the right time, yeah.
And then of course like the flying, and then I guess the hovercraft's not quite the submarine kind of thing, but
Well, no, it did.
the alternate modes of locomoting through the
there's an air mode and a
through the
water
courses.
mode. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, that's basically what became Mario Kart 7 and 8, like pretty much was aping the Diddy Kong Racing stuff. I guess it's not like quite the hovercraft or like an all plane level, but there still is a lot of like air stuff and a lot of water stuff and all that.
The mechanics are similar, where you're like flying through rings instead of
I just wanted
driving over stuff, and then
I just want it to be like an open world like Diddy Kong Racing was, where you could like race around and you could fight like bosses and all that shit. Like that was the most fun part about
secrets.
it. Yeah, well, I mean, you remember like the bosses, like there's a big Triceratops that you race, and you get to race Whizpig, and like that was like all the cool stuff. Until you get to the second half where you got to collect all those silver coins, which I hated doing that shit. But aside from that, it was fun, But it is a good game. That's my number 4. What do you guys got for number 4, John?
Number 4 is the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on NES. I got that for Christmas in 1989.
That's a hard fucking game.
It's a hard game.
You didn't ask
As
for
I was about to find out when I was, how old was I? 7 years old. That's pretty brutal. Like, imagine that being 7 years old. Yeah, I got a Ninja Turtles game. I've been asking for Christmas. Cool, first Ninja Turtles game. Then I ran downstairs. I remember I ran downstairs, like, immediately after the last present was open. I plug in the game, and start playing it, and, like, die immediately. And die again, and die again, and die again. And it tested my Ninja Turtles fandom at that point. I was like, okay, this is like... I remember thinking it was kind of weird. Like, none of the characters were from the show. None of the bad guys, whatever. It was like the guy with the chainsaw. Like, I never saw a guy with a chainsaw on the TV show.
It's a shame. There should be a guy with a chainsaw. Always.
There should be. Yeah, I just remember I still liked the game as a kid because it was Ninja Turtles, and there were parts of it that were cool. But mostly for me, I mention it just because my excitement for getting the game. Like, you guys remember that N64 kids where they freak out about the 64? Like, that was me with Ninja Turtles that Christmas. And so I always remember that. Plus,
had
I have
you
it on video.
Had you played the arcade game at that point?
No, I had not played the arcade game at that point.
So at least you didn't think it was going to be that, and it turned out to be something else.
Right. I wasn't.
That's what happened to me when I played that game the first time. I was like, "What? This isn't at all what I thought it was going to be."
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That maybe you asked for 2 and you got 1, and you're like, "What? I don't want that one."
Yeah. And I also just remember it because I think that was the first Christmas that we have on VHS. Like, we would videotape all our Christmases. And so I still have that moment of me getting my Ninja Turtles, blowing up and running downstairs, play the game.
Just trying to taunt you with the music. It's got a sick soundtrack though. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a hard one to do. Well, my roommate Conan, like, he got Turtles 1, I don't know, for his birthday or for Christmas or something. But he said that was like one of the only games that he had, so he basically played it and studied it, and he was actually able to beat it. Were you ever able to beat that game, the Turtles 1?
Yeah, I beat the game eventually.
Because it's fucking hard. It's like on the level of like Maximum Carnage, where that's like my game, like on the same level where like I've only beat it twice, and I like don't know how I did it because it was like so fucking hard. It's one of those things like it's so balls out crazy that it's like you might be able to do it, you might not, but you really got to study the fuck out of it. And Conan did beat it for me on the Virtual Console, like on the Wii Virtual Console. We remember when it was re-released and it was like $6, came out like 10 years ago or whatever. Anyway, I downloaded it and I have it on my Wii, and he played through the whole thing. Like, and he's like, that's probably the second time I've ever played through that game. But yeah, it's an insanely hard game. And one thing, like we talked about on The Wizard when we did that live episode that we did, that was a cool reference that they made in that movie. They talk about the Metal Turtle and like Christian Slater plays that game and all that. But they're actually right what they say about that game in that movie that we talked about.
I gotta beat the Mecha Turtle.
Yeah. No, the Mecha Turtle's hard as fuck.
Bridge is doing the video game thing in movies where they're just like pressing whatever buttons and like waving the controller all over the place. Look at me, I'm playing a video game.
But he's correct. As I'm saying, he's correct though what he's saying. That Mecha Turtle is fucking hard. He's difficult. And it's cool they brought him back in the new Turtles show, which is really good, if you haven't seen that. The Nickelodeon one. But
Bridges?
No, the Mecha Turtle is in the new Turtles show. Where the guy who was the voice of Raphael is now the voice of Donatello. His name is Robert Paulson. He's one of the greatest cartoon voices of all time. That's really his name is Robert Paulson. I don't know if they're referencing him in Fight Club, but that's him. He was Arthur from The Tick. He was like Yakko from Animaniacs. He's fucking awesome. He does a bunch of shit. Anyway, Jeremy, number 4.
Numero cuatro. I'm going to go with Shadows of the Empire. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but...
Oh, Shadows. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, far before I ever got...
There's a lot of snow in that game, for sure. And Hoth.
Before I ever got my first Nintendo 64, my best friend in high school got it first for Christmas. And I used to go hang out at his house and like spend the night like once every couple weekends I'd spend the night. And when I would, he would just let me play a 64 because he would go to bed at like 10 or 11. Like he went to bed early and I would stay up all night playing.
And you stay up till like 4 just playing through all of it.
So I just remember like sitting there in the dark like 2 or 3 in the morning, which, was crazy late for me at that point in my life. And just like playing Shadows of the Empire for hours and staring at this he had like a little like 9 or 13-inch TV that was hooked up to
9 9-inch TV.
It was one of those really small, like
that's fucking
it
tiny.
was probably like 13-inch TV.
That's not even a foot. 13 inches is a little over a foot. I mean, that's tiny. Yeah,
bigger. So it was a really small TV. I'm sure you guys remember those little tiny TVs we used to have back in the 90s.
Yeah. I used to have one of those. That was black and white.
Yeah, see, so this was at least color. But yeah, I played the game for hours and hours, and I just remember being blown away by, this is one of the first. He didn't have Mario 64, so that was the first like fully 3D game I really like adventure game I got to play. I think so. It was very special
Mario
for me.
64?
He did not get that. He didn't care about it. He never did.
Wow. He got it for Shadows. I mean, Shadows. Like I love Shadows. Like, but I had a similar thing. Like my best friend from high school. Like he got Shadows. Like he got Shadows for Christmas, but I didn't because all I got was Mario, which I was fine from getting Mario. But I remember that at the time, like, 64s were so hot and the games were so hot that, like, I remember going to, like, Babbage's in the mall and they had Shadows and they were selling it for, like, $100. They're like, we have Shadows of the Empire and it's just going for $100. I'm like, you fucking assholes. Like, that's... Because that was that crazy, like, Wild West time where you're like, there was not a set... there wasn't a set actual, like, price for games. Like when WCW vs. NWO came out, that was priced as what, like $70 or something like that? Like even in the 90s? The WCW game. Like that commercial that you showed me, isn't that like $69.99 pretty much? It was priced at $70.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, for the 90s, which is what, like $1,000 now or something? Or like $300 or whatever? I mean, it's insane. Like that was the Wild West of games where they had not actually set a price for games. So I remember walking by fucking Babbage's in the Peoria Mall, and they had Shadows of the Empire in the window, and it said $99.99, like right on the. And I'm like, I'm like, really? And I was at least.
Did it come with like a land speeder or something?
No, I mean, at least I knew. I was like, all right, these guys are fucking you over because they're the only ones here. They're probably the only ones in this city that have this game, and I could tell it right then. I'm like, all right, you guys are fucking us over. You're like, yeah, you got this game that nobody else has, and you got to pay $100 for it. At least I could tell that because. Who knows? We might have got it for $70 at the time. I don't know. I don't fucking know what I got games
That's so
for
far back
time.
that you could buy computer parts at the same place that you're buying your video games.
At Babbage's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you like buy like?
I don't think we had it at our Babbage's.
PC and shit.
Maybe. I don't know. I never looked at PC stuff. I mean, I know they did have PC games there, but I remember they would print out a big sheet that would show you like all the release dates of the upcoming games or like whatever they thought was going to be the release dates. But Babbage's was the first, like, GameStop or whatever. It was the first, like, all game place, so we liked going there. But, yeah, I remember I was like, fuck you, Babbage's, just because you're the only one with fucking Shadows. That's not cool. And they probably sold it to some, like, rich family or some poor guy that, like, really wanted the game and put $100 for it or whatever. But yeah, Shadows is a really cool game. Like, I remember my mom found it at Best Buy later, like in mid-January or something, and then I got to play it later. But I played the shit out of that game. I played through the levels over and over and over again. If you play through it on the hardest difficulty, the credits, they do like sort of a Monty Python thing where they make like the little You know, it's like this guy got sacked by this guy or whatever. Like it imitates the Holy Grail, like opening credits and all that. If you beat on the hardest difficulty. But yeah, that was a fun game. I really liked it a lot. It reminded me of my number 3 game, which I'm going to say right now.
Yeah, but anyway,
or once after you get done.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you were kind of alluding to it, but one thing that really made stand out to me in my memory as a Christmas game, other than playing it around Christmas, was that it does have a lot of snow in it. You start out on Hoth.
Yeah.
And then eventually you're hanging out with Wampas and everything, so that's cool. But
if by hanging out you mean killing them, then yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're fucking bullet sponges too, man.
No, they are.
But,
no, they totally are. They're fucking huge, and you have to shoot them 300 times, or something like that.
But I didn't give a dang about that game, but I ended up liking it a lot. Which, in retrospect, I've tried playing it since, and it's pretty hard. Like it's tough, and the controls aren't as great as they could be.
No,
the textures are super muddy, so you can't always. Like I actually got lost at one point.
Yeah, it's really dark.
I tried to play it recently because like the textures were so fucked up that I couldn't even like tell what was a wall, what was the floor, and the light was kind of dim. I was in a cave, and I don't know if I tried to play it again with the brightness turned up, it might work a little better. But still, I remember that game fondly, and somehow I was playing it on a little tiny TV and having a great time. And there you go. That's my number 4.
Yeah. There was I haven't put it up on YouTube yet, but I did a stream of Doom 64, which I really liked that game. But there was a part where I got completely stuck because everything was so dark that I couldn't figure out where the fuck I was. Then I ended up turning up the brightness all the way on my tube TV. And that's the only way I could figure out that there's like a staircase like on the wall. Like it's not 3D, it's like in the texture, and that's how you get out of it. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I wanted to edit it together at some point to where you could see my frustration of being in the darkness, but it reminded me of that. But what's really cool about Shadows of the Empire is, that opening part on Hoth, like that opening like vehicle part, that was what inspired Rogue Squadron and all those games. Like they basically were like, hey, that level's really cool. Let's make a bunch of games based on that. Or they're like, let's make a whole game based on that. And that's where Factor 5 like got the idea for Rogue Squadron and all that shit. It was like, hey, this is an amazing Hoth battle that we have here. What if we did a whole game like that? Where it was all like, and then we got all those amazing games. So
did Factor 5 do cool. Shadows of the Empire too?
I don't know if they did, but I thought I want to say that they did, but let's find out real quick.
I thought it was just LucasArts.
No, well, I mean, yeah, they worked under LucasArts. I mean, Shadows of the Empire is its own thing. I mean, if you want to get into how it's like this fucking book that somebody wrote, and John Williams even did a soundtrack to Shadows of the Empire. Believe it or not, did you know that you can buy it on?
Really?
Yeah.
I remember it being like a very big release at the time. Like I think wasn't it before? I mean, it was before even the special editions of the films that came out. So I remember.
I thought it was
seeming like it was the next Star Wars.
Oh, no, it was. That's what they were trying to push it to.
Yeah.
Was that it was the next...
Because Dash, what's-his-face, was like the...
Dash Rendar.
He was like an assistant to Luke or something, or he was he was training under Luke, or...
No, Dash Rendar was basically the new Han Solo, because Han Solo was frozen. Because Shadows of the Empire took place in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
Oh, okay.
So Han Solo wasn't in it, so they needed their new scoundrel character, and Dash Rendar was the scoundrel of it. And he had a robot that's basically like Chewbacca. He had a ship called the Outrider, which basically looks the same as the Millennium Falcon, sort of. It's like kind of like shaped a little bit differently. But yeah, he's basically the new Han Solo, is what he was.
He falls to his death down a pit a lot.
Dash Rendar?
Yeah.
I mean, he might have.
Well, in the game, he does.
Oh, yeah, sure. And there was those swoop bikes and all that.
Oh, yeah. There was a whole like part where you're racing through a town on speeder bikes.
Yeah, that was Mos Eisley. That's what that was.
That was a fun level.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. According to Wikipedia, which is not necessarily something you can trust, but it says that they didn't do Shadows of the Empire. But I thought they did something at some point. I don't know. Regardless, that first level of Shadows of the Empire, you could tell was a major inspiration for Rogue Squadron. And maybe they played it and they were like, "Hey, look at this." But yeah, they made a whole thing like that. Which that's important. But all the stuff that we talked about brings me to my number 3. My number 3 is Super Empire Strikes Back on Super Nintendo, which is, the thing that happened before Shadows of the Empire in the timeline of Star Wars, whatever. the reason I think of that game is it did come out, I think, around the time of Christmas, but over half the game is in the snow. It's all Hoth, so it's definitely a wintertime game. I played it. I did a stream of it. Actually, I did a stream of it on Twitch like last Sunday, and the game froze on me, which was kind of funny, but not funny at the same time. But that's what you get when you play cartridge games, I guess, and try to stream them. But if you watch the YouTube video that I made, I do a funny little thing like while it freezes. So I thought that was funny. But yeah, that's one I think of because most of the game takes place on Hoth. Like you got to play through a bunch as Luke, then you got to play through a bunch as Han and Hoth. So yeah, snow, lots of snow. So
does the game end with you? Like, does your stream end with you like the game freezing? Was that it?
No, I had to restart it. I restarted it with a password, basically, because I didn't want to play it again. But I did a nice little like Star Wars scroll thing that goes by that talks about like how my game froze, and I had to restart it and all that, clean it off. I thought it was funny. It was like a thing I could do in the editing software that I had, so it made me laugh, I guess, watching it. But yeah, that's my number 3 game for the winter because, you know, when it gets super, super cold, we all think of Hoth, or at least on Facebook, a lot of people do. Like, man, this is cold, like Hoth cold, right?
You already made that Hoth reference.
Yeah.
So my number 3 Christmas game is Super Smash Bros. Melee, because that came out
Melee
just after the GameCube came out, like a month later, right in time for Christmas. And I got that for Christmas. And again, it was one of those you just go downstairs immediately after presents and just spend 3 hours in the basement having fun playing the games. Yeah, and that game, of course, really was the beginning. I mean, there was the N64 original, but to me, Smash really began on the GameCube. And I'm still playing it to this day. I was playing it earlier this week at work. We have a copy. People love to play. So.
Do they have it like set up to where you can just play it whenever?
Yeah, we have it in the break room. We have a GameCube.
Yeah.
And
well, Melee's the one. Melee's the one that like everybody goes to. Well, I mean, it's like it's still an Evo. You know, like the esports fighting game thing. Evo is like, you know, that's the game that's never going to leave is Melee because Melee is like the holy grail for most Smash Brothers players, you know.
16 years running now.
But I mean, that'll be the one that everybody's like, that was the perfect one. You know, that's the one that you will see. And I mean, you even see, like I said, you even see some of those like original wrestling games like on there, like for some of this competitive stuff because that was the standard. That was when they perfected it, you know, and everything was different from there.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Jeremy? What's your number 3?
Number 3 is a bit obscure, but once again, I'm just kind of digging because I don't think I've ever mentioned this before. Once again, a game I got for Christmas as a gift for my grandmother. I don't know where she got it, but it was this weird-ass game that I've since bought back on eBay. It's called Quattro Adventure. I've talked about this on the show before.
Yeah.
Quattro Adventure.
I don't know if it's focusing on it very well, but yeah. It's got 4 games on it, and on the back of it, it's kind of strange, but there's like a switch in here, and you're supposed to leave it where it is, but if it doesn't work, then you change it. So it says...
Yeah, it has a weird thing on the... Yeah, I remember
only use it on position B unless it doesn't work, and then try position A. So I don't really know what...
Only leave it here unless it doesn't work, then
sticking out, you
put
can
it
see
the other
there.
one. Yeah.
It's a very strange game. It's made by Codemasters. So they're the ones who did the Game Genie.
Is it a rare game?
It's not rare, no. I think I bought this on eBay for $6 or $7, and there's 4 games on it. It's Treasure Island Dizzy.
Oh yeah.
Linus Spacehead, Super Robin Hood, and Boomerang Kid. And they're all pretty different games, and they're all actually kind of fun. I've booted this up a few times. One thing I really like, I think the music is really good in all of them. Like, I don't know what it is. This was just at a good point in the history of Nintendo where a lot of they were using the sound really well. And so even on these games that were, I don't know if you call them indie games. I mean, they're low budget games that are being crammed on a 4-cart.
They could have been the original indies.
The music's good. Well, I think that they were also released on PC.
Yeah, I've heard of Linus
Apple or
Spacehead
something.
before.
Well,
I think they were on other systems, and then they were ported to Nintendo eventually.
Well, I was saying we did talk about it in episode 99 because aren't they the same guys who did that the American Idol game that you got?
Yes, they are.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah, Codemasters. Yeah, I remember you mentioning that in episode 99. So if you haven't heard that, go back and look at it. as you're enjoying your Christmas feast and all that.
There it is.
Which you have it, and it had told us before that you had it, so now we know. But
anyway, my grandma bought us this game. I have no idea where the hell she got it. It was such a weird thing when we opened it up. Like we were like dumbfounded by it. It was a brand new game, but the package was different than any other Nintendo game. Of course, it was this weird gold cartridge, but it wasn't Zelda, and it had the Switch on the back, and we're like, what the hell? But it had 4 games on it, and like it entertained the hell out of us. We played it a lot, and I never beat Treasure Island Dizzy, but it's actually it's like a point and click adventure game, pretty much converted to the Nintendo. And then the Line of Spaceheads, I love the music in it. When I do my retro revival videos on YouTube, that's a song from Line of Spacehead. That's my it's like it. I use it sometimes for sound effects.
Oh, okay.
Because the music's so good. I love it. So, we got it for Christmas. We played it a lot. Every time it's December, I think about this game.
I wish I knew, like, where was it your grandma, like, where she got it from? Because you said, like, you don't know where she would have found it. I mean, but it was...
Yeah, and unfortunately, she's gone, so I can't ask her.
We can't interview her. I was just like, I mean, this is the 80s. It was like the Wild West of video games. Like, it could have been anywhere. Like, I remember...
It would have probably been, like, 91 or 92, I think she got this for us.
Oh, okay. Well, I remember, my church would hand out, they had, like, a phone book of, like, Christian, like, whatever, Christian people who own businesses or whatever. And there were places, there were like car repair places that sold like the Bible adventure games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could have got it from
me
anywhere.
That one too, but not for Christmas, but I did own that at one point.
Yeah. But I remember
she spent like $60 on it too. She spent a lot of money, and she's like, I just want to, because I was there when she bought it, and I just, even as a kid being like, holy cow, she's paying full price for this game.
You better play it. Right?
And she's like, I just want to make sure that you are playing wholesome Nintendo games, that aren't bad and violent. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Come to find out, you beat the shit out of animals as Noah in that game.
But you got to stack animals and throw them around, right?
And you can throw Moses into the river.
Yeah, you can. I mean, that's way more violent than Super Mario, right?
I could never kill another human in those games. In this one, I can kill an infant.
Yeah, right. It ends up becoming like way more violent than the other ones.
And then if you don't protect baby Moses, the fucking Egyptians kill him. Sorry, I didn't mean for that to sound racist, but it's literally the Egyptians that you're just trying to escape from.
Well, yeah, they're the ones who are coming after.
They start stabbing the baby with their spear if you don't protect him.
Yeah, right.
Back then, when you saw those games, like, I remember seeing the Bible games every so often. The ones that were like weird had the switches on the back or were a different color or whatever. It's like you didn't know what to make of it because it wasn't like today where you kind of know about all this odd stuff thanks to the internet. It's just this weird Nintendo cartridge shows up.
Well, it's like
you just don't know what it is.
It's like the Tengens, right? Do you remember the Tengens?
Yeah, I saw the Tengen. I remember seeing Tengen Tetris.
Yeah, no, my buddy of mine in high school, he had the Tengen Tetris, and I was like, there's these different Tetrises but all I knew was the Game Boy Tetris, like that was the only one that I had. But there was the NES one that was like that one, but in color, but then there was the Tengen one that was completely different, and we were like, okay, we didn't think that it was something different or whatever. Yeah, we didn't have the internet and be able to find out.
You're just like, the cartridge is black, I don't know why. But,
yeah, and it was shaped weird at the end too. I remember like
it was
like
years
sloped
later before
down
I
and all
realized
that.
I played. Yeah, that I played Tengen Tetris because I was like, we got Tetris eventually for the Nintendo, but I played it at my mom's best friend's house years before, and I remember there being 2-player, and I was so confused because I'm like, I remember this game had 2 players simultaneous, but it's not on here.
But then you played a different one that didn't have that on there.
It was. I think it was like college before I figured out finally. Oh, that was an actual different version of Tetris.
the Tengen or the Tengen, however you pronounce it. But I remember, they looked weird. They were like sloped over. And
once again, I don't know if that whatever happened in that game. That was my mom's friend's game, so I don't know if she still had it or whatever. But it's worth a pretty penny now.
Oh sure, but it was a crazy world where we could not.
But how strange when you think about it, like the quote unquote Christian games were like. Kind of shady. Like they were on bootleg cartridges, and they were like, or like in the case of like Noah's Ark 3D. I guess it wasn't a bootleg game because they bought the license to use the engine or whatever. But still, it was kind of just like, something doesn't seem right here. It doesn't seem moral.
Well, I mean,
circumventing the Nintendo system through, you might say, dishonest means, but it's for a Christian game, so it's a good cause.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because nothing has ever been bad for Christianity, right? Oh. But, yeah.
Getting real over here.
But
Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Xmas, by the way. War on Christmas. We're against it. What's up? I'm kidding, guys. It's all right. I forget. I was going to say something before I went all anti war against Christmas, as they call it. Oh no, I was going to say something about the Noah's Ark 3D. From what I heard, they sold the engine to them because the guys who did Wolfenstein 3D felt that they got fucked over in some way by Nintendo. Isn't that true? And they gave it to Noah's Ark because they didn't feel like they weren't able to do what they wanted to on the system or whatever, and that's why they're like, "Oh, do whatever you want." I forget where I read that. I read that somewhere about it, like how they got.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it worked, but
yeah.
Once again, you're just like, what? How's this like?
I don't know. I just remember playing that game at my friend's house. He got a copy somehow. I think it must have been a grandma Christmas situation. But
yeah, where she somehow found it at an end cap at Target or something like that, right?
Right, yeah. And I was like, as I remember, you're like shooting at goats or something, or I don't know, like shooting. Aren't you shooting like
sleeping
crucifixes
pills
or something?
No, you're shooting sleeping pills at the animals to
sleeping pills. At
basically
the animals,
get them to behave on the ark. That's basically what you're doing. Well, yeah, you put them to sleep because they've gotten crazy, for being on this ship for however long. Which I understand. I would have gotten crazy too.
Right.
You just gotta put them down, but not completely down. You gotta put them to sleep, but not forever sleep. Shoot sleep pellets into their mouths because they've gotten crazy. They're going to try to
just
kill
put
all
them
the
to
other.
Sleep, and then you're like kidnapping them against their will.
Well, they're already kidnapped.
The rest of their species, is dead now.
Yeah, you got to shoot the pill version of Jesus juice in their mouths. Basically, what you got to do there.
No, it was just running around the ark, just hurling sleeping pills at all the animals. That's what he was doing frantically.
Well, they probably got out of control. Is what I'm saying. They were, was 40 days, 40 nights, whatever. Like they were in there for a long time. That's like a month and a day or something like that. People can get crazy. Or a month and a week and a half, something like that. I don't know.
No one, like 2 weeks into the trip, everyone's like, Noah, we're so bored. He's like, all right, I got an idea. Let all the animals out.
And we'll shoot the sleeping pills at them.
And then we're going to use these slingshots and all these Quaaludes I brought with me. And we're just going to...
Quaaludes.
We have all that's left from all the pharmacies. They're all covered in water. We got all the pills. Now shoot them into the giraffe's mouth. And somehow we're going to get them back to the pen after that. I don't know how yet, but just shoot them.
They're going to stack them, like the NES game, one after another.
All right,
yeah. Throw them in there. Yeah.
I already figured that out.
My favorite part about that, too, is like you could carry like 5 cows. But you could also like rotate them while you're holding them. Like you could have you could rotate the stack so that one of the cows would move down and then back up to the top.
Well, the Lord will give you the power to do that. That's what I'm saying. If you have faith, make it work. You can rotate all the cows you need.
It's fight or flight, man. The fucking world's about to flood. You got to save the animals.
Yeah.
You have super strength. You can lift cars up and you can throw cows.
You got to tell those pharmacies
afterwards.
that you'll
you're like,
save
how
them.
did I do that?
Be like, give us your sleeping pills. We'll save you, and then they drown. Yeah, yeah. I was like, I don't know. Adrenaline kicked in. Anyway, we're at number 2, right?
Number 2.
Or are we at 1? We're at 2, right?
Number 2.
All right. Number 2. This is another winter-themed game. Silent Hill Shattered Memories. Did you ever play that game on the Wii? It's a good game.
I forgot they put one out on the Wii, didn't they?
You played it a little bit, because I remember there's a part... It's a really good game. I actually like it a lot. It starts off with you being at a psychiatrist, and he asks you a bunch of questions about things, and depending on what you answer, changes the game. Because I actually played it, and then I showed it to you, and you played it, and that beginning was completely different between the two of us, depending on what you answered. It's a really fucking cool game. It takes place in the Silent Hill town, town of Silent Hill, whatever the fuck it's called. But it's during the winter, and everything's super cold. And what I love about the game is you don't have any weapons at all. You just constantly run from the demons that are chasing you. And there's exploring time and then there's running time. And when you get to the running time, everything kind of just freezes over. So it's all about the snow, and the picture, the front cover of the game has a girl in on a swing set, completely frozen over. It's all about the winter and freezing and all that shit. And it's a really cool game. And I remember playing it, and I played the first part, but you were playing a part that I didn't even see. And there's a part where you can use the Wiimote to like unzip like coats. Do you remember that? And I remember you were playing it and like pulling the zipper down. And you're like, wow, this game is great. It's so interactive. It's like a joke, but I thought it was hilarious. But that game's really, really cool. I would love to do like, I mean, I have the Wii U set up now on my thing now. I'd love to do a stream of that at some point in the future. I mean, I'd hope to eventually stream all of the games I ever had, you know, and then I can die happy after that or something. But, you know, it's a cool game. It's super wintry. It's very scary. And on the WART radio, the winter episode, there's a song from that as well, because there's some very scary, icy shit in there. But if you want to see like, you know, like cold death demon stuff, that's probably where you want to go to. If you want to feel really cold and scared in your apartment, it's a good game to play for that one, for my number 2.
Videos in that.
One cool thing about that, if you pre-ordered it, you got the soundtrack for free, which I got, and that's what I put on the WART radio, was the free CD that I got way back in the day when that wasn't as much of a thing, you know. Even though Jereme said in previous episodes, they should be giving out records now. I mean, really? CDs or whatever. Xenoblade Deluxe, if it came with a record, I would have totally got that shit. Which I love. I wish that Nintendo would release records. They haven't, but that's a whole other thing. We'll talk about it on another episode. Anyway. Number 2.
How cool would it be if there was like a little indentation in the middle of the record where you could fit the cartridge, so the Switch cartridge would like clip into the record?
Oh yeah,
that'd be cool.
It could be like actually there's a really good movie called You Weren't There. It's a documentary about original punk in Chicago from the 70s. And a buddy of mine, he bought the deluxe edition, and it's basically a record of the music from the bands that are in the movie. And then there's a little tiny DVD like in the middle of the record, which reminded me of that. So yeah, he got the deluxe edition, has a record, and then the DVD in the middle, which I think is pretty fucking rad. But yeah, they could do that in the same way and have the little cartridge in the middle of the record, you know. Anyway, what do you got for number 2, John?
Nintendo, do it.
Yeah.
For my number 2, I've got a little game called Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
What?
That game. Got that for Christmas. Yep. And again, went right downstairs, played the game. You can imagine after, I think it was about 2 years that I knew about the game, just anticipating it, looking at it in magazines, and at that point having not seen any videos because it was really before the internet was, you know, alive and kicking.
Sure.
The first thing that I saw when I started the game was a nice peaceful scene of a horse going across a valley.
Oh yeah.
And that soft music. It was just like, I've never played a game like this before. I've never played a game that from the start asked me to just like take a moment and like breathe and soak in the beauty. And I just have a very clear memory of firing up the game for the first time. I was just struck by that. Yes, that was a great Christmas 1998.
Yeah. I actually have a funny story about Ocarina of Time. Speaking of that, like Ocarina of Time came out, I had just graduated high school. I just started going to school at LCC where I met Jereme, and I had pre-ordered the game. Like I paid for it at a Toys R Us in Peoria, where I was born and grew up and all that. And I remember I went and got the game. Like it came out like right before Thanksgiving, I think. I bought the game. I played a little bit of it. I'm like, it's okay. And I remember I left it in my dorm room at LCC, and I went to go see my dad for Thanksgiving. I didn't take the game with me. I didn't take the 64 or whatever. I left it there. And I like went there for like a couple days, and I come back, and my roommate was like, dude, he's like, this game that you left is fucking insane. Like, it's crazy. Like, you gotta see this fucking game. And it was really cool. Like, I played it a little bit, and I'm like, it's whatever, you know, and then I left, and I came back, and they're like, dude, this game's fucking crazy. Like, we've all been playing it, we've all been watching it, like, it's fucking balls out, like, off the charts. Like, it's fucking insane. You gotta see it. So it's kind of cool. Like, it was a cool thing to come back to. Like, seriously, he, like, grabbed me, like, with his eyes wide open. He's like, dude, this is the fucking craziest game I've ever seen. Like, seriously, this is amazing. I think he said it was the best thing he had seen since Final Fantasy VII. It was that time, you know. Yeah, but it was, it was kind of cool that I just...
Which had only been about a year since that game had come out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because, that was 97, and, it was 98, but I just thought it was funny that I just kind of, I had to go do some family stuff, and I came back, and I was just like, it might be okay. But then, like, people were like, no, dude, we've been playing it, like, everybody's been watching it, like, dude, this shit is, like, off the hook, like, big time. And then I started playing, and then I had not gotten as far as they had, and they were like, oh, you gotta, thanks for leaving it here, but dude, this shit's crazy. And then I started playing on my own. I'm like, oh, all right, cool. So I'd like, so I got to see all this crazy shit. But I don't think I've ever had that happen to me really after that, where you leave a game and somebody tries it and then you come back. You're like, dude, this shit is amazing. Like way fucking crazier than anything I've ever seen.
You wouldn't do that now. You take your games with you everywhere you go.
Well, now we got the Switch. You can take it wherever you go. Yeah. But no, I would have never done that. That's probably the first time I ever did that, where I did not take a system with me when I left, because I didn't, in the 90s, I didn't really, if I was leaving for a couple days, I didn't take my system with me. But yeah, no, I do that all the time now, Yeah. Well, that would have been just a straight up Game Boy Pocket, I guess, would have been what I had at the time. But
play Pokemon or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Pokemon would have been out by then. But yeah, no, it's just crazy, just a crazy, crazy game that just, just set everything on its head, just flipped it all over, whatever.
That's that same friend that I played his copy of Shadows of the Empire also got Zelda like the following year, I think. It would have been the year it came out, and I came over and played that.
Yeah,
the same way, like up until the middle of the night, playing it every night. And it took me about a month to beat it because I had to go over to his house to play it, and then I play like these really long sessions of it.
Well, I remember like some of the first times that we hung out, that Jeremy and I hung out, was Majora's Mask. Was playing Majora's Mask in my dorm room at the college and all that. And that was that was a couple years after, because Majora's Mask was 2000.
Yeah.
But I remember doing that, like playing the game, and you'd like fall asleep on the futon or whatever, like doing that shit. And I remember going to Toys R Us and you swimming around with the masks on and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you got for number 2, Jeremy?
Number 2. I'm going to say a new one, Breath of the Wild.
Oh,
because
that's not a Christmas game at all. Oh yeah, no, it does have snow parts. You're true. You're true. You're correct.
I'm breaking out from games I got for Christmas.
That's fine.
It's just a game. It's just a wintry game, so it's got like a lot of wintry stuff in it. Like the Great Plateau that you start out on. At the very beginning, you got to like figure out how to stay warm in the snow to get one of the original 4 spirit orbs in the game.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
So yeah, the snow is pretty important to that game, and the temperature, and you can roll snowballs and they get bigger as they roll. Like I think that's how you open up one of the shrines. You have to like roll a giant snowball down into the side of a mountain to break the door down.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool. Yeah, shield surfing's cool.
Shield surf.
There's snow everywhere, and the water's cold. You die if you get in the water, which I think started back in Ocarina of Time.
Mario 64.
Yeah, that too.
And in Super Mario 64, in any of the snow levels, if you get in the water, you die. Well, your health bar like slowly ticks away, like if you're in the cold water. I think that's...
Oh yeah, snow bowling, which we all did to grind for a bunch of money.
Oh yeah, that was the best way to do it. That's where you get the like $300 per strike or whatever, $400, something like that.
But yeah, that's I'm happy that it's a new game that wasn't out last year when I was mentioning snow levels.
Well, I think we mentioned
the game's got some pretty good snow levels.
I think we mentioned probably at the end of 2015 and the end of 2016 just how sad of a winter it was going to be without another Zelda game. Because if you remember way back when, we did wait a really long time for that Breath of the Wild game,
and we thought it was coming out in December of 2015, I think.
Yeah, no, it was supposed to come out at the same time as Xenoblade Chronicles X, and I was thinking like, oh my god, this is going to be like the greatest like RPG Christmas of all time, because I'll have Xenoblade and Zelda, and then Zelda didn't come out, and then the next year Zelda didn't come out because they held it over for the Switch. But it was like we had to go through 2 cold winters without a new Zelda game. It was like, ugh. But I
always have to wonder, like when they delay a game for 1 year and then 2 years like that. It's like I want to know, what did they add in those 2 years, right? Like they basically doubled the length of the development cycle. It was originally supposed to come out in 2015, but like obviously in 2015 it was close enough to be finished that they had put out footage and like talked about the game, and
not a whole lot though. I think in 2015 all they had showed is like that E3 thing where they showed like the grass moving, and then it showed like the Guardian moving around. But Nintendo, like they're super like hardcore about polishing, which is what makes them one of the greatest video game companies of all time. Is that they're like, what Miyamoto said before, Like a great game that's delayed so many times is still great, but a bad game that's released early is still a bad game or whatever. I totally paraphrased that, but he said something similar to that, where it's like, it's fine. If you want to delay it and it's going to be fucking great when it comes out, then delay it, I mean, it's just...
We've learned that.
It's their own, it's their own perfectionism, which is what makes them, like I said, one of the best game makers of all time.
And hey, what about, in my opinion,
the best game?
Not delaying anything that they said they were going to release this year.
Right? I mean, that's crazy that they didn't delay anything, but...
They stuck to all their release dates for all their first-party games this year, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, they weren't going to release it, even if it was ready, they weren't going to release it on the Wii U because they wanted it to be a system seller for the Switch.
Well, yeah, once they realized that they were going to throw a Wii U under the bus and do a different system. And I think it could have been done by 2016, but probably 2015, they probably didn't have it where they thought it was going to be. And you also have to realize, at that time, this was the first time that Nintendo had first got into HD games. And I feel like they just didn't quite know where they were at, maybe, and they're I think I remember reading an interview with Aonuma or something where it's where he was like, oh shit, everything is way crazier than we thought it was going to be. It's a lot bigger. There's, this is not as quick as we thought it was going to be, because before that they were making standard definition stuff. So I think, once they got to this, they're always very ambitious. And I think what they were thinking about getting to, it's holy shit, we might need a little bit longer to make this work. They're not just going to throw it out like a WWE 2K18 or something like that, where if we can't figure out how to do it, we'll just throw it out, make it bad. Nintendo would never do that, I think that's why they delay things. I think they delay it because it's not to where, it needs to be working. They're not day one patch type people, they're not going to do day one DLC to fix the game. They're going to put it out and make it good to begin with. So that's how I feel about that. Anyway, you guys ready to get to number one?
Number one.
All right. This is one that I have to do for number one. It's not necessarily a winter game. Well, I mean, it's a Christmas game for me. My number one game is Super Mario Bros. 1 on NES because I got that game for Christmas when I was a kid. And I remember that being a big thing. My dad got it for our family, and me and my sisters and my mom and my dad, we put a TV in our dining room next to the table, and we played Super Mario Brothers for Christmas. And that was the big deal, was us playing that game. And it was the NES. I had rented it before with my mom, played Goonies 2. That game's whatever. But we got Super Mario Bros. 1, and that's probably one of my favorite Christmas stories ever. It's just us as a family sitting around playing the game and passing the controller and just, everybody trying to jump and moving it around and all that. So that has to be my number one Christmas game, Super Mario Bros. 1, which is probably also one of the best games of all time.
I haven't played that one yet.
That's my number one.
You never played Super Mario Bros. 1? Lies!
No, I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, what is this Super Mario Bros. 1 that you're talking about? Fuck that shit. I'm into Assassin's Creed
copies of it right
I'm into
now.
Assassin's Creed Origin. You played that shit? What? No. Whatever. I'm kidding. Fuck those games. But yeah, that's my number one Christmas game because, I mean, that's probably my first video game Christmas was Super Mario Bros. 1. I mean, it's hard to get away from that. We want to talk about games we got for Christmas. It has to be Super Mario Bros. 1. That was
mine too.
Yeah. That's
mine
yours as well? Yeah.
Super Mario Bros. 1. Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, I lump in a couple other games because I got the Power Pad set for Christmas.
Oh, okay.
So it came with the Nintendo, the Power Pad, the Zapper, and then the 3-in-1 cartridge. I had Super Mario Brothers 1, Duck Hunt, and World Class Track Meet.
Yeah.
So that's my number one Christmas game, is that cartridge.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, Duck Hunt was in there as well, but I don't remember playing Duck Hunt on Christmas. I feel like we just played Super Mario Brothers. Like, I'm sure we did a little bit, but the memory that I have is just us playing Super Mario Brothers, not Duck Hunt, which I'm sure we did. It just has not resonated, I guess, with me, my memories and all that shit.
Yeah, we got the NES, from my uncle, and it was like the best present ever. Like, to this day, I mean, it's given me so many memories and, good times. We all know about that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, NES, you can't beat it. Best Christmas present ever.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's what began all of this. I mean, I would have never known that like 30 years later I'd be doing a podcast just about my love for Nintendo, but who knew? But yeah, that's our generation. We get to see like all of the all of video games, like the rise of video games, the beginning and now what it is now, it's crazy. But yeah, I agree with you on that. What do you got for number 1, Jeremy?
We didn't get to see it all. We didn't get to see it from the very beginning, but we got the post-crash view of it when it started to really get good, when it came back from the dead.
Well, I didn't have an Atari, but I played an Atari.
Right, Ataris were everywhere. I played an Atari before I ever played a Nintendo.
Well, I did too.
I wish we could have ended on you and John because I'm not.
You could just say your number 1 is Super
You
Mario
just
Brothers.
have to list a game that's better than Super Mario Brothers. What's the big deal?
Not possible.
I know I can't, and my Mario Brothers experience was not on Christmas because we did get our Nintendo for Christmas, but my dad gave it to us a couple weeks early. So I could tell that story, or I could just say when I got Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah,
Nintendo 64.
Nowhere near Super Mario Brothers 1, but hey,
had ever bought us seriously, that's the first time we'd ever gotten a brand new game that had just come out as our gift. My parents splurged on us that year. They spent a lot of money on it too because it was it cost more. I think it was a $70 game, maybe $80.
Well, I mean, who knows?
It came with the expansion.
Yeah,
pack.
with the RAM pack.
Right.
So anyway,
all those bananas, they're cheap.
But I remember just being so freaking shocked that they got that for us because they, like I said, they were always we're not going to buy you the new game. We're going to wait 2 or 3 months and then we're going to get it for half the price or less when people sell it, which is smart. At the time, the internet wasn't ruining games for us, so as kids, it sucked to wait, but it was getting ruined.
I mean, IGN was still around. I read a lot of their reviews, and I think I'd read the review of Donkey Kong 64 probably by then. I mean, I remember renting it and then buying it on the cheap later.
Right. It ended up being somewhat disappointing, unfortunately. But I will say my brother loved it, and so I watched him play through most of it. He beat it. He got everything in it. Because he's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's...
And I was
yeah.
I remember being super... my brother would have been... Let's see, when that game came out, I would have been 15 or 6... No, I would have been 16. I think is when it came out, right? Did it come out in 98? No, it came out in...
No, later than that.
99.
I would say 90. I was going to say, you were older than that.
So I would have been 17. So my brother was 12, and he was able to beat the original Donkey Kong, which you had to do in order to unlock the things.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, if you want to get,
I just remember being super.
If you want to get the ultimate ending, you have to do that. Yeah, it was. It was November 22nd, 1999. That's when it came out. So it's 18 years old.
Yeah, but I just remember being almost more excited about the expansion pack because I knew that we could play Perfect Dark. I wanted to be able to play Perfect Dark, and you had to have the expansion pack to do the multiplayer on it, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I think you had to do it for single player too, but yeah, to get the whole experience of Perfect Dark, you needed it. Same with Rogue Squadron or Turok 2.
Yeah.
There was a lot of Majora's Mask. There were a lot of games that you needed the RAM expansion.
But I was
for.
that was one of the few times I remember being genuinely surprised by a video game at Christmas because, we would get games from time to time and they were usually games we asked for, but they had been out for a while. But that was the first time this brand new game that had just come out. We did not expect to get that year, so that was pretty exciting. And we played it all day. And like I said, I had actually ended up enjoying watching my brother play it more than playing it myself.
Yeah. Didn't you guys gather around for the intro too, right? And then weren't your parents
oh yeah,
it was he's a hell of a guy. What? For the
DK. Were wait, what?
Donkey Kong. Yeah, because there's a
was
cuss
surreal
word in
because
it.
Even at age 17, I'm this is weird. It's
said hell.
It's cheesy.
The intro of it, yeah. The intro, that's
being shocked by that.
That's the very end of it where they're DK's a hell of a guy. It says it in the thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they
how did that slip by?
I think they edited it for the Smash Brothers Melee because that song is in there, as one of the things. But I don't think they have the hell of a guy in there. I think they cut that line because there's a faster, sort of rap version. Well, it is a rap version, but faster version of it. But I don't think it's
like a
there.
remix. Yeah,
yeah.
I'd call it a remix.
Yeah, I remember watching it and being oh, I didn't expect that to be a hell of a guy. Which is funny because now
there's an entire music video at the beginning. Yeah. That was strange.
It's funny because now Xenoblade Chronicles 2, that's Nintendo produced second party thing. They say fuck constantly in that game. I don't know if you noticed that. And they have some of the most hilarious lines ever. I can't think of one offhand, but just just cussing things that don't make any sense, where it's like asshat or something like that. But not that one makes more sense. But yeah, there's a lot of like funny cussing in it, I guess.
It's your
What's that game rated?
They totally say fucking it a few times. I don't know.
M then, right?
I don't know. I haven't bought a Switch cartridge in a long time. I can't really tell you. I'd have to look on the eShop to find out. But yeah, there's like hardcore. I mean, they say fuck a lot or whatever, and there's some pretty hilarious shit in there for whatever. But yeah,
pretty hilarious duty.
Yeah,
it's a family podcast. Come on.
Yeah. Anyway, that's been our top 5 games, right? That's number 1. That's all of them.
Yeah, it's been your special Christmas stocking stuffer.
Yeah, this is our special post-Christmas episode here for you to listen to while we're all on break. Because we got tired of editing podcasts for you every week. Or maybe I did. I'm the one who edits them. Anyway, this is our time to reflect and have some time off and play a lot of Switch games. This is my plan.
Do some research for future podcasts. Right?
Yeah. Well, play a lot of those indies so I can figure out the best indie of 2017. That's what I'm trying to do. But, Anyway, thanks for listening to us on your Christmas break and all that. Hopefully you enjoyed our top 5 games that are on there that we just did. You can catch us at NintenDomainPodcast.com, and you can find us on YouTube /FINGMATER, Fingmater. And you can email us at NintenDomainPodcast@gmail.com and all that fun stuff. We've been your hosts. I'm Trey Johnson.
I'm Jereme Mikowski.
John Nitter.
And thanks for listening. We'll see you next week for our Game of the Year episode. Or Games of the Year and a bunch of categories and shit like that. See you next week.
Merry Christmas.
See ya.
Happy Hanukkah.